I remember when I was getting ready to release my very first book, and I had a bunch of questions. When should I start posting about my book? How often should I post about my book? What types of content should I actually post about my book? How do I turn my book into content? And these were questions that I struggled with, ultimately paralyzing me, where I only posted once my book was actually launched. Now, after writing 4 best-selling books before I turned 30 and helping over 250 people do the exact same thing, I've realized what types of content you should post and when. And so today, what I want to share with you is the 2 types of content that every author should create that will help them build awareness, get more buyers, and ultimately generate more sales, leads, and opportunities. And the coolest part about all of this, what I'm about to share here, is that this is creating content from stuff you've already done or are doing on a day-to-day basis. This isn't going to require you to spend a ton of additional time. Why? Because you've already done the work as you create your book. So I hope that you're ready. Fasten your seatbelt and let's jump into it. Now, one thing to note real quick is my name is Jake Helfer. I'm a 4-time best-selling author. I'm the founder of Big Idea 2 Bestseller, where we help people just like you write, publish, and launch nonfiction books so they can grow their business and make an impact. And this type of content strategy, these 2 types of content that I'm going to share with you, I'm going to give you a bunch of examples. I got a whole section of notes right here in front of me. These types of content are going to not only help you really build a ton of awareness and get people excited to buy your book, but it's going to help you generate leads and sales before the book is even launched. And then it's going to help you build a brand based on the work you've already done. All right, talk about killing like 8 birds with 1 stone. That's what this is about. So the first type of content that every author needs to create is milestone content. Now, we call this milestone content because at every milestone that you hit along the way of creating your book, you should create content based on that. Think of this as documentation content. As you do it, you document your process. And here's why this is so effective. 1, you don't actually have to think of anything to say or do. You just document what it is that you're already doing and how you're feeling in that moment. Secondly, this is a really, really great type of content to include people on the journey. And what I have found is that when you include people on your journey and you don't wait until the book's launched to let people know you have a book, they start to get invested in your process. People get excited and start to see, are they going to finish it? Are they not? What's their cover going to look like? Where are they at? How long is it taking them? And they buy into your process so that by the time your book's actually ready, they're ready to go. They're ready to buy your book. They're ready to hire you for whatever it is. Okay, and this is one of the ways where you can, as you document it, you can teach people along the way and get them ready for whatever it is that you're looking to do on the back end of your book. So let me walk you through some of the milestone types of content that you can create, okay? And you can do this as often or as little as you want, but I highly encourage that you share content while you're in creation of your book rather than just waiting until your book is launched. So examples of milestone content can include the decision to write a book. All right, we had one client who was about to start the book writing process and they said, hey, I'm writing a book on this topic. If you're interested in this topic, let me know what you want to see. And they got about 50 responses, all potential leads and all great advice for how to create the book and what types of content they would need in the book. So announce the book. You can do polls asking the audience if they're interested in your topic. You can do for milestone the first words on the page. Okay, the first chapter completed, the first writing section, when you finish your rough draft, when you send your book to an editor, the cover design, when you have ideas, when you select your cover, when you're debating between 2 and you get to ask people what they prefer, when you get your first copy, when you announce your launch date, when you get your proof copy, when you unbox your books. These are all milestones. Launch day. These are all milestones that you have as you go through the book process. Now, some people only do it for the biggest ones. Other people will do it for every milestone. Other people will even create series or kind of mini shows about their book journey. An example of this would be something that I did called Project Bestseller. I documented what I did every single day through a simple video. I just recapped what did I do. And I showed exactly how I went from idea to a best-selling book in 87 days. I turned that into a weekly podcast, and then I turned that into a full-on product that I sell and give away as a bonus as part of certain higher ticket programs. So milestone content is so great because it gets people invested. But what's really cool about it is it doesn't require a ton of time. Think about this. If you sit down for your writing session and you write 6,000 words in that writing session, holy smokes, that's amazing. Well, tell people right after. And it's great to do this on stories, small, quick updates, or you can do longer, a little bit longer of the video, talking about what you know, your feelings, how you're doing. And these can be reels. You can talk about your journey via a carousel, the swipe graphics. You can do a single image and share what you want to talk about in your caption. But the point here is this. Share your journey. It's easy to do. It doesn't require additional time and effort. And it's already just done based on how you're feeling in that moment. So I really love milestone content. I think it's one of the best things that people can do, especially if you are looking to write a book to grow your audience, land paid speaking gigs, sign high ticket clients, or to sell something on the back end of it. All right, that's milestone content. The second type of content that I encourage every author to create is what we call educational content. Now, when you write a book, when you write your outline, and then when you write your actual book, you have a ton of material. Not only do you have a ton of material, but you have your best material in the most concise way of saying it, accompanied by the stories, the case studies, the testimonials, the frequently asked questions, and everything that you've included in your book. This is all you ever need to create content. And so educational content is where you take the work that you've already done, the rough draft, the outline, the finished manuscript, depending on where you're at in the process, and you pick something to teach about. Now, there are two ways that you can do this. You can go in order or you can go randomly. Personally, I like to do a variety of things. I like to sometimes go in order and make 5 videos from one chapter, or sometimes I'll just go ahead and I'll flip to a random page in my book, see what I'm talking about, and then just verbalize what's on that exact page. All right, this applies and works really, really well if you are writing a book that is directly related to the offer you have on the back end. So, for example, my book, Big Idea to Bestseller, this book is exactly what I teach and coach people on. So, I can talk about that book in bite-sized form, and that allows people to know exactly what I'm all about and what's next. If you write a book about finance and you're a financial advisor, great. If you write a book about mindset and you're a performance coach, fantastic, right? It leads one thing to the next. So let's talk about some different ideas when it comes to education content. And I broke this down into a few different categories, okay? The first category of educational content is book basics. So this is just some commentary on why you wrote the book. What is the book about? 3 problems the book will solve. 3 things you'll learn in the book. This is topical education content. This is educating your audience about more about the book and about you and the creation of it. Those are book basics. The outcome of the book. Frequently asked questions that you discuss in the book, right? So a great example of how to actually turn this into a piece of content would be 3 problems you'll solve by reading my book XYZ. 3 things you'll learn in my debut book. All right, and you could do things like that, and then you say 1, 2, 3. Or you could even say 3 tips about this book, right? What we want to do is keep it topical, but very educational, create value. The second type of educational content that I'm going to talk about here is chapter videos. So as much as I want you to be super granular, as much as I want you to be talking about the backstory, you can also do chapter videos. And so you can discuss something about each chapter. So for example, let's say you go to a chapter and there's a quote in there that you really love. You can do a video or you can do a image or a graphic of your favorite quote from the chapter. Explain why it's your favorite quote. Explain what someone could learn from that. That's a really great thing to do. You can take a story that you talk about in that chapter and just verbalize the story. If the story has a lesson, you can just tell the story that you already put in your book. Again, no additional work. You've already done the work. Now let's just repurpose it in different ways. You could share a testimonial that you used. You can create a 3 tips or 5 secrets reel based on the content in that chapter, right? So it could be 5 tips. Let's say you're writing a book about mindset and you're trying to talk about how to overcome adversity when things aren't going your way. And you say 5 tips to overcoming adversity. In my book, XYZ, I talk about these 5 tips. Tip number 1 is this. Tip number 2 is this. Finish it. Make sure to grab a copy of the book. Or comment mindset if you want to learn more about this. What you want to do is you can just take it by the chapter. The next type of educational content that you can use, and there's 2 more here, is a book story, right? So this is where you really dive into the stories of your book. Now, when we help people create books, we want them to be short and insightful. We want them to combine education with experience. And most importantly is we want you to have your own story within your book. Why? Because if you are trying to sell something on the back end, if you're trying to be a speaker, the more of your story that you can share, the more you can relate to the audience based on where they're at, which allows them to see you as credible, trustworthy, and relatable. And so in your content, you can create all about your stories. What's a story you've experienced? What's an outside inspiration you've used in the book? What's a client win that you discuss in the book? Again, you've already compiled all this information on your outline, your rough draft, or your finished manuscript. Just share the stories. Talk about them. And then the last thing is teaching videos, teaching educational content. And that's where you teach concepts from your book. That's where you share any calculators, any formulas, any templates, any worksheet concepts. And you could just actually teach. You can call these whiteboard videos. You can actually teach from the things in your book. And so these are the different types of content that you want to create educational wise. Now, if you notice, nothing that I've shared requires you to do any additional work. And I can't stress that point enough. You've already put in the hard work of creating your book outline, your rough draft, or your finished manuscript. Use it. Repurpose it. And you will have more content than you can ever imagine. So to recap here, there are two types of content that I believe every author should be creating. And I believe that you should start creating this content as soon as you start creating your book. Now, I understand that some of you watching, you have to wait to leave a job. You have to wait for a buyout. You have to wait for something in order for you to actually talk about your book. And in that case, that's fine. But if you have no limitations or no restrictions, and it's more about you just aren't sure what to post about, or you're nervous to post about things, or you're just like, I don't like social media, well, then I want to challenge you to start posting from the get-go. Start posting from the beginning. And the two content types are the milestone content and the educational content. The milestone content gets people bought in on your journey, on your process, and on you committing to finishing the book. The educational content allows them to see you as the expert, allows them to learn what's going to be in the book, and allows them to get excited because start seeing some results. When you combine those two things, you make 2 posts a week related to this, and boom, you got yourself a great mini content schedule moving forward that you will never run out of. That's what I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you want more ideas of what milestone or educational content can be, go ahead and message me on Instagram at Jake Kelfer and let me know that you listen to this and you want some more. And I'll send you a bunch of different ideas based on where you're at in the process. All right. I'll see you next time. Peace.